and welcome to issue 1 of the Infinite Backlog. Oh, you don't like my enthusiasm? We gotta start strong. This is episode 1.
I love Duncan on it. Less than a second into the introduction, it's already got Shane.
Well, it's just the way he was like, hello.
I'm Andy.
I'm Rory.
And I'm Shane.
And this is already falling apart, but welcome. As I said, this is our new podcast. It's called The Infinite Backlog, and you're here. Welcome. Thank you. If you found us organically, that's dope.
Wait, if you just sit around Googling new podcasts?
Yeah.
I wonder if there's a new podcast today.
If you're kind of referred to us from our parent podcast, Saturday Morning Tuesdays, then welcome to you as well.
Welcome.
The Daddy Pod, yes.
Yeah, our Daddy Pod. Welcome. This is the start of a new thing, and just so that you know what the hell you're buying into, let me tell you a little bit about our show, because I've been elected Podfather. So this is a new show where we are aiming to consume the best and most noteworthy comics from all of the history of Marvel chronologically from the beginning. And generally, we're all pretty new to this content, so all of our hot takes are going to be way fresh. But I think we should talk about our history with Marvel. So I'll go first. I'm Andy. Hello. Hi, Andy. This is Marvel Anonymous. I have read scattered issues. I've never read anything consistently, but I have seen all the MCU movies, and I am a big stan for those. And Rory's probably rolling his eyes at me right now. So Rory, what's you?
I do not like almost any of the MCU movies. I mean, they're fine as popcorn fluff. Like, I'll watch them and be entertained, but talking about them as if they're film bothers me.
You're such a fucking... They're not film.
They're not good. They're not.
What about comics?
So with the comics, I'm mostly relegated to just being a giant X-Men dork. Mm-hmm. But I haven't read anything really pre-Claremont. And that I haven't read nearly all of. So I started with my own sort of smaller, different curated list of only X-Men stuff. And so
sure.
I've done a version of this for me before.
Shane?
I'm Shane. And one time I read an X-Men comic book. And there was another time that I read a comic from Free Comic Book Day. And I have seen all of the movies also. So my takes will be exceptionally fresh and hot.
Shane, I don't want to throw you under the bus, but I'm pretty sure you also have a strong history of Marvel hero clicks from which you have some knowledge.
Oh, I do. I definitely know a thing or two about clicking those little bases.
I could click a man or two.
I could click some heroes.
I click with the best of them.
Yeah.
So I feel honor bound to mention through the course of this podcast, we have a curated list that I have put together, but I actually can't take most of the credit for it. So there is a guy named Dave who runs a website called Comic Book Herald, and he has these
Hi, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, what's up, Dave? He's got really intense reading lists that sort of cover the entire gamut of everything, and I have based my reading list off of a lot of his stuff. And he also has a podcast that he does, but it's a sort of more focused thing where he like finds the 10 best series or like stories from every year, and they talk about those. But they're like comic experts, and we're nobodies, and we're going a lot more deep in the weeds. And I think that it's going to be way more fun. You hear that, Dave? I'm throwing the gauntlet down. Our podcast's more fun than yours.
Yeah, we're plagiarizing you, but we're more fun.
So our slate every week is going to be about 10 issues. You can always find the information about that in our show notes. You can find out which specific issues. If you want to read along, which we definitely invite you to do, you can find everything on Marvel Unlimited. It's a pretty cheap subscription service. But yeah, I think this is going to be a hell of a lot of fun. And we sort of put the energy into the name of our show, Infinite Backlog. I feel as though it sort of encapsulates my feeling before this project of like thinking about trying to read all of Marvel, finger quotes. It feels infinite. It feels like there's way too much to ever catch up on.
That is something that intrigues me about doing this for potential hopefuls, because I know when you jump into any comics, unless you just go literally back to the very beginning and read everything, you have to dive in and you're going to be confused. And you have to look shit up or just get cool with being confused. But ultimately, a new person to any kind of comic franchise there's just nobody holding your... there's other fans who might hold your hand a little bit, but it's impossible to just jump in without, some help. So
Yeah.
hopefully this can maybe do that for somebody. I don't know.
I have to tell you, I'm very excited for everything that we read this week. But I'll throw it to you guys. What's something that you want to talk about from the 10 or 11 issues that we read this time?
I had the most fun with Thor and the Rockmen from Saturn.
Okay.
They were from Saturn, right? I haven't reread it.
They were from Saturn.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you like about that one? It was pretty forgettable to me.
Yeah, let me pull this one up again.
What I liked about it was that the aliens, compared them to, say, the Atlanteans or the Skrulls, felt more truly alien in their actions and motivations. They were weird and believable.
Sure.
They were Easter Island heads.
So they got the sci-fi better, and then they also, I thought, handled the magic pretty well. It was not over, like, when we read Iron Man and he's just constantly talking about transistors. Thor's magic is unexplained and weird and allowed to just be silly and kind of inexplicable. When you have Thor's hammer, you are simultaneously not Thor and also Thor.
Well, I guess I found that one interesting for a couple reasons, right? So, like, at some point they retcon this whole Don Blake situation because in the original situation is that he's just this guy named Donald Blake, and he finds a magic cane and turns into Thor.
Well, and they play with this idea later, but I think, at some point they retcon Thor so that there's a sort of true Thor, and then there's also
there's also Donald.
There's also Thor likes.
Yeah, those stone aliens are, they later get expanded. I believe they're the Cronins later. And if you have seen Thor Ragnarok, it's that guy Korg.
Oh, yeah.
He's one of these aliens.
And Thor Ragnarok's one of the very few MCU movies that's quite good.
Oh, thank God you like that one. I liked the Thor issue, but I would nothing about it made me want to keep reading it. And I'm actually surprised that you liked it because of how long it spends teaching us how his transformation works.
I will totally give you that. But the bar is pretty low this week. And like I said, I found the Rock guys really silly, and I don't know, it hit a good balance for me. I found Fantastic Four pretty boring. SpiderMan was pretty boring.
Oh my God!
I'm
upset.
you? I know. I'm upset that you found SpiderMan boring because I fucking love this old SpiderMan shit.
I felt like Spider-Man was the best one that we read, probably.
It's so good.
And I don't even like Spider-Man that much. I honestly don't even like Spider-Man that much.
Okay, well, I'm not friends with either of you anymore. This is really getting upsetting.
Okay, all right. I have two things I want to talk about. The first one is just the villains that they created for the Fantastic Four.
You mean like Mole Man?
Yeah. Like Mole Man. I mean, can we talk about the villains like just as a whole?
Yeah,
sure. I think that's my topic this week is the way the villains were created for each comic book, where it was just like, this is a man with a big gross head, or this is a man with a gross face who taught himself how to fly. Like,
oh my God. Yeah. I believe you're talking about the Gargoyle and the Vulture, respectively.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
They're pretty awful. The Gargoyle's like this misshapen commie from Russia who just sort of regrets how misshapen he is and is mad. And then the Vulture is like a septuagenarian like dude with wings who steals ladies' purses. And nothing about them is particularly threatening.
The Vulture's crimes are such misdemeanors.
Though he does leave incredibly charming notes behind as like calling cards.
God, the note. I would love for us to some way integrate some of the, best panels we see from the week.
Yeah.
I don't know how doable that will be, but he does at some point throw a note with like a brick with a note on it that says, "Dear the police, I'm stealing the diamonds today. Love the Vulture."
Oh my God.
It's so good. Fuck. Yeah, there's some really good stupid villains this week. And then there's Wong Chu, which we probably don't really want to spend too much time talking about.
No. He's horrendous.
It's really horrendous. That was in the Iron Man the Iron Man origin story that we read, which takes place in the Vietnam War, and so there's some unfortunate Asian broken English stereotype situations going on that make you really
that comes and
uncomfortable.
goes. It doesn't even it's not even the whole time. It's like sometimes they forget. They go, oh yeah, wait, we were making him talk like this. And then 3 panels later, he'll be back to normal.
Yeah, we're not even going to talk about the fact that, in the middle of the war, they taught themselves pretty good English.
Yeah.
Why are we dunking on that?
Yeah. God. There's so many things that that wouldn't fly today, and I don't just specifically mean like the racist stuff like in that Iron Man situation. I just mean like the plotting and the characters, like they're so thin and low effort, but like I guess people ate them up in 1962 in a way that we certainly wouldn't now.
The thing with that, I think what made Iron Man even less palatable than it would be with, without, in a different context was like everything else, they go so far out of their way to not really mention any commie countries by name. They're the Iron Curtain and all of the...
Oh, that's a red sub. Chameleon's trying to sell that secret info to a man on a red sub.
So everything is like in vagaries, and then we get to Iron Man, and it's the real Vietnam War with real racism, and it's
it's definitely different.
It accents how awful it is by breaking the norm.
And for Stan Lee in the 60s, who generally, give the man some credit, generally was pretty progressive in his comic books. Like it just sort of, it reminds you that the time is still tough. Like that going back is still rough. Like there's always going to be these sort of things. So Rory, you suggested having kind of a wall of shame where we put issues like this.
Yeah. If there's just a way to sort of through our reading, I imagine this is going to come up, and we'd have to mention, if we're going to talk about Iron Man, we have to talk about it.
Yep.
And so I'd rather just be like, you know what, this is icky and doesn't really merit our conversation, and you can see our wall of shame somewhere.
Yeah.
On Discord or something.
So hey, Tales of Suspense issue 39, Wall of Shame. Wow.
Can we put specific panels up on the wall of shame, or does it have to be the whole?
Oh
comic?
Yeah.
Absolutely, we can definitely put panels on it. We'll have to figure out whether or not there's an actual living wall of shame somewhere. Maybe we can find somewhere on our website to put it.
It'd be fun. We could do a Discord or something where you just post screenshots.
Could do.
Yeah, because I gotta do a panel from the Hulk on there too, where there's a part where the general's like, "This is boy talk. You're talking, and this is man talk."
Yeah.
Did you not notice 2 men were having a conversation right now?
Yeah, exactly. And then she goes, "Oh, sorry, my dad's fucking crazy," and I was like, "Yeah,
yeah." Oh God.
I mean, no, the second one I want to talk about, and Rory kind of touched on it in sort of our Facebook chat this week, but there's a thing that the universe does where they don't explain things, because I think they want you as the reader to fill in the blanks for them, because it's less that they have to explain and it's less that they have to draw. And so there are moments where the comic itself will say something like, "Oh, that whatever kind of glass." For that
the Resisto glass?
Yeah, like this is Resisto glass. And like it's built off of the word like some kind of resistance glass, right? And so you as a reader build what that means, and then you can talk about it later with your friends and be like, "Oh, and he was trapped in the Resisto glass."
Yeah, but Spider-Man's like really strong, but he can't break Resisto glass. But I wonder if Thor could break Resisto glass. Oh, I bet Hulk could break Resisto glass. No problem. I'm sorry if I'm offending nerds right now. I'm one of you. I swear to God.
It literally happens all the time, and it's like people. The comics expect you to fill in some of these blanks where I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want to fill in that
Don't
blank.
make me do work. So, okay, I have a thing that I desperately need to talk about. Rory, it sounds like you didn't like the Fantastic Four very much. Maybe you didn't either, Shane.
I liked the Namor annual. It was fun.
Okay.
The first one, they hadn't... The kind of, to me, the only saving grace in these early issues is Ben Grimm's excellent dialogue, and they hadn't really hashed it out in the first one, maybe 2. But by the annual, they'd sort of gotten him down.
I love Ben Grimm more than anything. He's maybe like a wannabe war criminal, because it's there's like an amazing quote in the annual where Reed suggests they take a prisoner, like an Atlantean prisoner, and Ben's like, "Now you're talking my language. Nothing I like better than grabbing me a handful of squawking prisoners." And you raise an eyebrow at Ben Grimm, maybe sort of leaning a little too hard into his persona, but. But no. So the thing that I really wanted to talk about is in Fantastic Four issue 2. So this is the introduction of the Skrulls, which A of all is way, way earlier in Marvel history than I would have expected, given
a lot of this stuff is showing up earlier than I thought it did.
Yeah, because the Skrulls only just recently showed up in the Captain Marvel movie. And, obviously they have a long history in Marvel. I know about Skrulls, and I'm not terribly literate in the comics. But to sort of cliff notes the things that happen, this invasion force of Thor shows up and impersonates the Fantastic Four. And there's some shenanigans, but they managed to trick the invasion force into turning the other way. But now they're left with these 4 Skrulls, and they're so good, they're goody goodies, so they don't want to murder them. And so the police are like, well, we could, and Reed is like, no, you know what? If you trust me, you'll let me handle this. And Reed Richards sentences them to life as cows.
I know, it was crazy.
And it's kind of the weirdest, wildest thing that I've seen in a comic book.
But they're happy to do it.
Exactly. They're like, we don't want to cause any more trouble. We're terrified for our lives. And he's like, well, I could hypnotize you to think you're cows. And they're like, will we be happy? And he's like, fuck yeah. And they make him shapeshift into cows. He hypnotizes them to think they really are. And then we just see them grazing in a field as Reed Richards stands there like, job well done. It's so fucking ridiculous. I just was like mouth agape when I was reading that sequence. It was just like maybe the best ending I could think of. I guess I should say this. We cover November 1961 to July 1963 this week, and just in that short year and a half, they introduce pretty much most of the iconic people that we come to know for the rest of time. And it's actually bizarre to think about that they managed to come up with that many iconic characters. You could maybe say that they just came up with a bunch of characters and then worked for decades to make them good. But, we saw the Fantastic Four, Hulk, Doctor Strange, Iron Man, Spider-Man.
And to that, Hulk was sort of as far as I know, and this is not done any new research, but I believe Hulk was a tremendous dud until Peter David takes the run over.
Sure.
And this issue 1 of Hulk is very different.
Oh yeah, he's like a werewolf.
He is absolutely like a werewolf.
He only transforms at night.
He transforms at night. He's gray. He's significantly more lucid.
He's very verbose for Hulk.
He has this dapper teen in his wings.
Oh yeah, that teen energy.
Welcome to Rick Jones.
He's like the bard from The Witcher, and him and Bruce Banner have so much fun. Just everybody's always super confused when the Hulk turns back into Bruce Banner, and him and Rick are just, I don't know, they're just on the same wavelength about just horseplay during danger.
Yeah. You guys are going to need to get used to Rick Jones. So this is his first appearance as well, and he's sort of like the teen sidekick to the stars. Because he sort of does his time with the Hulk and with Captain Marvel and with all these other characters, and it's very weird. He has absolutely nothing special about him. All he wants to do is date girls, but he keeps getting wrapped up in these superhero adventures, and they have no problem just bringing him along. It's definitely going to be a fixture moving forward.
Is one of the writers seeing themselves as this character? Is that why? They just love living.
I think he's a reader placement, probably.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. He's the wish fulfillment of man, I wish I could just be the Hulk's sidekick or whatever.
Oh, I wish I could just be 2 feet away from the Hulk and smell those pits.
Speaking of that, the wish fulfillment in all of these characters is much stronger than what I am used to, because it's usually kind of, I don't know, buried when you have a 3-dimensional character, but it's really obvious why, if Tony Stark appeals to you, why that would be. If Spider-Man appeals to you, why that would be. And even Namor is this kind of childlike, this boy king.
Are you a sour youth? Well, here's a role model for you.
If you like King Joffrey, get a load of this guy.
Oh my gosh, he's so petulant too. He literally is no people are allowed to even look at the water.
But we cut to you can't even be above the water. We cut to him really early on in his issue. He's in his underpants and a regal cape and a crown. You're like, this is what a 4-year-old thinks being king is. This is exactly.
No, he never puts fucking clothes on.
No, he doesn't put clothes on, but he does wear a king's cape and crown, which makes it look
God, yeah, and he's in
obscene.
that cover for the Fantastic Four Annual 1. He's just like sitting regally with no clothes on but a crown. It's very funny. And he's got those eyebrows that won't stop and the widow's peak that could kill a man. And it's a very exciting sort of design, but a very childish man that they have put in that body.
In the annual, they have already retconned him into a mutant, which is, I think, if this is speculative, their attempt to find a place for him because he is such an odd character, and that's part of why I'm drawn to him, because good or bad, he just doesn't fit in anywhere. Like literally as a character, he's very hard to write and work with.
Yeah,
and I'm constantly entertained by attempts to include him. Like they just never stopped writing him. Like they never were just like, you know what? Maybe we'll stop doing Namor.
We'll put Namor to bed.
Just like, no, we'll get it there. We'll get there.
My favorite thing about that Fantastic Four Annual with Namor is, as always, the Sue Storm drama, because he's so in love with the Invisible Girl, and it seems like she's maybe reciprocating, even though she's canonically already engaged to Reed Richards. So like there's a panel near the back. They do this thing where they have a bunch of like big 1-page splash informational things of like information about our universe. And they have a page for Sue Storm where they're like, oh, it's so hard for her to choose between the two men. And it's just a drawing of her staring at two photos, one of Reed and one of Namor, just sort of like with a perplexed look on her face. Like, you're engaged to one of them.
I feel that it must have come up in an issue that we haven't read because, there's some heavy-handedness, especially when it comes to women's fickle emotions in these comics. But it just seems like we're missing something because even Reed is like, will I never get this monkey off my back?
Speaking of that part, Andy, can I read what it says about that moment?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so it says questions which you readers have sent us concerning the Fantastic Four, right? And so the question is, who does she really love, Reed or the Submariner? And the answer says, we ourselves are honestly not sure. No one can really look into the heart of a female, and we suspect that she herself certainly can't.
I like the idea that even as the writer, you're like, you know what? You don't know what you don't know, man. How could I? And at the start of the annual, when Ben and the Human Torch are roughhousing and they ruin all of her clothes.
Oh, all of her Dior and Saks Fifth Avenue dresses.
She has a woman's meltdown about.
I hated that panel. Oh my god.
And then the very next panel is like, I'm so sorry, I lost control of my woman and my woman's emotions. It's pretty intense.
Yeah, that annual was no end of enjoyment for me because like I said, they had those big full page spreads at the end. Included in the Q&A as well was this villain gallery of like showing all the enemies that Fantastic Four have fought. And two of them I'd never seen before, and they have the most incredible names. So we've got Impossible Man from the planet Pop-Up, and the Red Ghost and his indescribable super apes. Which that's the kind of thing that I might want to go find. I want to find out about these indescribable super apes.
I guess we should probably touch on Spider-Man since we
absolutely.
read a little bit of Spider-Man and we're going to be reading a lot of Spider-Man in the next few weeks.
Yeah, because he's dope, and I can't believe that
I like Spider-Man. I just wasn't that entertained by the stories that we were dealing with.
Was it too fast for you?
It was too fast for me. I couldn't keep up.
Well, no, I don't mean that. I don't mean like that, you asshole.
Was it too quick for you?
I mean, like in one page, it goes from him moving aside from the killer of Uncle Ben, right? Yeah. He steps aside, and then the next page it says like a while later, and then it's a cop telling him his Uncle Ben is dead.
It was a bad page.
Yeah, it's a half page. It wasn't any time at all.
No, if I had one harsh critique, it was just that. Now it's an interesting dilemma. They just didn't really dive into it in a way that captured me. Was all the constant belly aching about money.
Yeah.
It just didn't entertain me. It just
poor.
It could have been. I like the premise of like, here's a teenager with this dope superpower and no way to leverage that for money when that's what he wants to do. That's an interesting problem, but he's just not solving it in a way that was interesting to me.
Well, and it's actually really funny because he tries to do that wrestling, right? Like we all know that from the movies and whatever, and every single adaptation they've ever done except for the new ones. that he goes to do sort of like this underground wrestling. And he does so well, but the guy who's hosting it is like, cool, you made too much money. I can't just give you cash. I have to pay you in a check. Who do I make it out to? And suddenly that's the drama. Well, just make it out to Spider-Man. Okay, well, no bank is going to cash a check that's made out to Spider-Man. Okay, well, just fucking try it. Oh, damn it, he's right. Like, this is so much time to spend on checkbook drama. Like, this is nothing. Why are we fucking doing this?
Because he didn't have that Spider-Man wit that
not yet.
That you expect from him. None of the crimes he fights in these 2 issues were. I mean, like I said, the Vulture's just like snatching purses.
Yeah. And then there's the Tinkerer, the old man with a ball chin with an alien in his basement.
Oh God. He's also an alien, right? Like he is.
Yeah,
he is
I think that's the implication.
Because he pulls off his mask, unless it's like the imposter guy again.
I don't. Yeah.
Oh, the
chameleon
was so dumb. The
fucking chameleon whose only superpower is a multi-pocket disguise vest.
A vest with many pockets. Yeah.
My superpower is all the pockets. Or like Mole Man from the Fantastic Four issue, whose only superpower is that he got stuck in a cave his whole life and had to learn how to live.
Okay, that's not true. Go back and read his 10-page monologue about his powers and about how he mastered his body. And he's like, hit me with a stick. I bet you can't.
I bet you fucking can't. I'm Mole Man. I'm Mole Man.
It seems like they were. I was interested in where the Mole Man was going to go, because it seems he's got this like glimmering cavern full of diamonds. And he's been trapped underground for, years and years. I was kind of expecting sort of a Count of Monte Cristo storyline. Oh. Just, with wealth and, time in prison, a dark prison. It's a sort of it's reaching for that comparison. But he's, a villain of a sort. And they didn't go that way. He just had a cavern of diamonds for no reason and was good at dodging sticks. Throw the stick at me.
Before we leave Spider-Man forever, I want to read over this panel that was probably my favorite panel of the week. This is J. Jonah Jameson. He's just gotten his first set of photos from Peter, and he says, "Are you out of your mind? With pictures like these, I can almost stand living in the city with Spider-Man. Take a bonus and go out and buy yourself some Twist records." And then Peter's thinking to himself, and he says, "He thinks I'm just a typical teenage kid. Good. That's the way I like it. And this wad of bills he paid me is what I like also."
If I remember correctly, in the Spider-Man movie, the 2001, doesn't he let the burglar go after he gets stiffed? It's kind of like it feels like karmic justice that the guy got robbed, right?
Exactly.
This is just a random robber, and Spider-Man is he's just peeved about his home money situation and is like, fuck it. I'm not a...
steps to the side.
Yeah, he's like, I'm in this for the money. I'm not in this to be a fucking hero. I'm not the cops. Let the cops deal with this guy.
I'm 16, yeah. And it's true. and I like that idea that, like, the second you have powers, you don't just decide you're the cops now. I like
Yeah, he has to sort of be forced into it out of guilt or, the guilt makes him realize what he should do, which of course they dropped the very famous line at the end in the sort of
it's
narration.
It's just in the narration.
Yeah, with great power must also come great responsibility or whatever it is. And it's, I was glad that was in issue 1. I was like, oh, okay, there's a reason that this is such a famous line. It was like right at the fucking beginning. But it's also a good line. Like it's actually a good lesson. Like, you got shit. You have a responsibility to use shit.
And mythically, this is part of the the hero's journey that isn't in every myth, but a lot of ones where the quote unquote gods are going to be fucking with you, killing your uncle, just doing nasty shit for no real reason, is a broken promise. So some turning your back on the social order, the way things are meant to be, and he could have stopped this burglar and didn't.
Yeah,
and that is sort of like I said, karma's justification for anything bad that they can now throw at Spider-Man.
Yeah, I don't know. I really like it. Obviously, the best stuff for Spider-Man is coming when they really hit their stride, and we will definitely get there. We're going to read a lot of Spider-Man. I feel as though we have to very briefly mention the fact that we also read Doctor Strange's intro story, and he goes into a man's dream, and it was nothing.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
all 4 pages.
It's a half issue, and it is it's abject nothing. But
yeah,
Strange is already significantly different than the other heroes we're introduced
Yes.
to. So I did enjoy. I mean, it was short, so it was easy to not have too many opinions about. But I vaguely enjoyed it.
So the Doctor Strange issue was kind of like, here's Doctor Strange, a master of black magic, and then on the last page he was like, "Wait, master, come fix it."
Yeah, it's true.
He almost had it, and then he went, "Wait, master, wait, fix it for me."
Yeah, and from halfway across the world in like Tibet, the master sort of activates his Eye of Agamotto and makes it work and saves his fucking ass. It's like, okay, we need to believe Doctor Strange can handle himself and not just call daddy when he gets into a rough patch. It's whatever. I know that is another thing that will get incredibly fleshed out as they realize people were into watching a sorcerer. They were like, oh shit, let's make him his own thing. He's a constant feature in Strange Tales. We're never not having him. Let's move on.
I know you want to move away from Spider-Man, but before we do, can we just talk about how thick he is? Just like
tell us how thick he is.
Just some triple C thickness happening in the Spider-Man comic. Okay.
Well, they also draw him like a 40-year-old man, and he's supposed to be like 8.
Absolutely do. They absolutely do. And I will say, out of all of the comics we read, he was one where I was like, that musculature is really good.
Well, that's because Ditko is like the best artist they have right now. Like,
just incredible.
He's famous for a reason. His stuff is just iconic as hell all over the place. It's not all gold. Like every panel, like you can probably find panels in these issues where it's like, you whipped that out in like 20 minutes. But
he's turning the wrong way, but that's fine. his leg is backwards, but that's cool.
His muscles are rippling like a babbling brook.
I don't know if I would go that far.
Well, you did call him thick with 3 C's, so I don't know how far you're willing to go.
It's like he's a marble statue. That's what it is. He's the Spider-Man marble statue of my dreams.
No, I'm not saying we have to make this a regular segment, because there's probably not always going to be 3 stone cold hotties for you to tell us about, but like, I'm always down to hear about which ones you think are attractive in these comics.
Yeah, we've been kicking around a couple ideas. One to go with our wall of shame is the wall of Shane. Just a hottie who deserves
wall in his teen room.
Just a hottie who deserves extra merit. I also am attracted to the idea of doing fuck, marry, kill with either these issues or any characters.
Yeah, man, we could totally do characters. I could give you 3 characters for sure.
Do it.
So if we're gonna do fuck, marry, kill, this is who we're talking about.
Okay.
We're talking about Spider-Man.
Okay.
We're talking about Mole Man, and we're talking about Igor.
Oh, you mean Igor?
Or Igor from the Hulk? Whatever. It doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter what his name is.
Okay, Spider-Man, Mole Man, and Igor.
Yep.
I would absolutely fuck Igor.
I think that's right.
That guy had everything going on.
He's got charisma, and he's got some danger and some anger.
Yeah, because he's a Russian spy, and you're like, ooh.
He feels like a bad boy you could take home and let him throw you around the room a little bit.
Please, yes, please. Listen, we have to start our social media because we need to put these panels on Twitter. This is page 15 of the Hulk. Okay.
Yes.
15 of the Hulk. It is a spread of him on the bed. He's got his arms crossed.
He's a spread of him spreading.
And he's just like sitting there thinking to himself, and it's dramatic lighting. And sometimes the dramatic inking is terrible. This is brilliant inking. Brilliant across his shoulder. And he is sitting in such a way that his biceps are both pointing directly at your face. And it is perfection. It's perfect.
I think you softballed this one in, but we have to kill Mole Man, right? Like, obviously we marry Spider-Man and kill Mole Man, unless Rory's going to throw me a curveball.
Well, Mole Man, when it comes to marriage, there's a lot of things to consider, and Mole Man does have, like I talked about,
so many diamonds,
a cave full of diamonds.
But Spider-Man wants money.
Spider-Man's a broke-ass kid. Look, I want to feel secure. I want to know that
Spider-Man is rich and poses.
Rory's a gold digger.
Daddy did not make a lot of great decisions in his 20s, and it might be time to just suck it up and marry the Mole Man.
Marry Mole Man.
Settle for Mole Man, everybody. You heard it here first.
Oh, God. Oh, shit. Well, hey, like I said at the beginning, we have all the issues that we read and the ones that we're going to be reading for next episode in the notes. So if you want to read along with us, absolutely go check it out. Follow us on the medias, find them, do them, love us, and just talk to us. This is a new show, and we don't know what people like. We don't know what you want. But we are we are full speed ahead on our reading list, and I'm incredibly excited to get a little bit more in the weeds on a couple of these series. So yeah, how are we feeling at the end of issue 1? Are we going to call these issues?
I think we kind of have to. I think we have to be a little cute. These are our issues. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed it. I thought I had a great time.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it was super fun. It was so much to process. I'm still like a little bit lost with some of the wording, but I'll get there. I'll catch up.
Yeah, I think it looks like after this week, it's not going to be such a buckshot every week of different stuff to have to keep track of.
No, absolutely not. Hey, we don't have a sign off. What do we want to do for our sign off?
Bye.
With great podcast comes great responsibility, right?
Great podcast comes great. We're done now.
I hate this.
Oh, it's so bad.
We'll workshop it. By issue 5, we're gonna have a great send off that'll just get you hyped for the week.
Stay tuned, true believers. Stan Lee, editor supreme, editing.
We didn't do enough
off.
Stan Lee impressions. I was hoping. I thought that would be a more common, or more recurring gag.
So anyway, thanks for listening. This was a lot of fun. We probably have 3 out if you're listening to this in the first week. So just jump right on over to our next one. Love on us a little bit, and we'll see you next time.
Lap it out of the bowl. Lap it right out of the bowl. Got everybody just pour it into a bowl and lap it right on out of there.
Hey there, Andy here. Thank you so much for listening to all of episode 1. If you are catching us in the very first week, that means that there's not just this one episode out for you to listen to. There are, in fact, 3 episodes and a 4th one coming out this coming Saturday. So please go ahead and download them all to your device, your various devices, whatever you want to do. We could use any sort of artificial number pumping on iTunes that you are willing to help us out with, please and thank you. But first, I wanted to draw your attention to our show notes. I know, so sexy. As we mentioned in the episode, they contain the reading list both for this episode and for the following episode, if you're so inclined to be reading along with us on Marvel Unlimited, which you don't have to do, but is quite fun. But in these first 3, they also contain a lot of helpful links. So I want to point you to our Discord. There's an invite link in there. That's where we're going to be collecting all the full reading list, as well as the permanent locations of the Wall of Shame, the Wall of Shane, and any other weird crap that we might come up with. It's also just a cool place to hang out with us. You can bug us. You can yell at us. You can say hello. You can send us memes. I don't care. You can do whatever you want in there. It's really fun. You can support us on our Patreon. There's a link in there that goes to support both this show and Saturday Morning Tuesdays, our elder sibling show, which is also really good. We've been going for 3 years at this point. So if you like both of our things or one of them or whatever, consider joining us on Patreon. Consider blasting us to all your friends. We could use any help with discovery that you can give us, because podcasts are insanely hard to get people to buy into. So please send out the good word, tell people about us, and I promise you we will return in kind with wonderful weekly content for you. I think it's so much fun. I'm having a blast. We're all having a blast making this stuff, and it's keeping us sane through the crazy times. So I think that's all I got to say. Go ahead and hit next and listen to issue 2 of Infinite Backlog.